Welcome to In Your Element podcast, where we dive into stories of those thriving in their element. From entrepreneurs, influencers, to chefs, musicians, and the community leaders, we explore their journeys, struggles, and successes. I'm Randall Pink with Natalie Kaufman, and today we're bringing you another incredible conversation with Josh Rothstein.
Back up in my yellow. I get my grind on and my mind strong, I'm working. I clock in when the night's long, so much time gone, but it's worth it. I'm locked in, keep the lights on, got my mind on my purpose. It's working, I flourish, I earned it. Can't tell me I don't deserve it, yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by Torque Motor Suites, a luxury motor suites community for enthusiasts and collectors. Welcome back to In Your Element podcast. I'm Randall Pink.
I'm Natalie Kaufman.
And today we have
Josh Rothstein.
Nice to meet you. I've seen you around town. We met a couple weeks ago, I do believe, at the St. Patty's Day. Is that the first time that we met?
Yep. And I've been to the Element Eatery, the food hall so many times. So you're always running around busy, putting things together.
Yes.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So if you want to start off with just telling the people what you do or who you are, and we'll kind of dive into it.
Sure. So I grew up in Cincinnati. I've always lived here except for my time at Miami University and then a 7th-month job in Indianapolis. But I've been in Cincinnati every part outside of that. My job is I'm a commercial real estate agent with On-Site Retail Group, and my focus as a realtor is to work on retail and restaurant property. So in Cincinnati, in Northern Kentucky, anything that has to do with a store, a restaurant, a bar, land that's available for development or anything of the sort, I use my real estate license to try and transact opportunities for either the property owner, who could either be a landlord or a seller, and then the end user, which could be a tenant or a buyer.
How did you get into that?
So I had a job working for a family foundation here in Cincinnati called the Mayerson Foundation. It was actually really cool. They gave out money to various causes, and my job was to help administer those funds, to do fundraisers, to put on parties, to do activations. And all the while, I started asking questions like, whose money is this? Where does this come from? And it was this guy, Manny Mayerson's money, and he made all of his money in commercial real estate development.
Wow.
So I did that job for a while, and it's nonprofit. It feels good, but career-wise, for me, I wanted something more, something different. And I started poking around like, well, how did he do it? How did this man amass this wealth in commercial real estate? And then fast forward a little bit, I was volunteering on behalf of the foundation at a golf outing at Sandoval Country Club. And a gentleman rolled up who I had always known loosely, and he is a commercial real estate broker, and he pulled up in a fancy BMW, which I was familiar with, and he got out with his golf clubs, and I approached his car. I was like, how you doing, Eric? What's been going on? And he's like, I'm great. We just started our own commercial real estate firm. And I asked him, if I ever wanted to get into real estate, would you talk to me? Because I've been thinking about it. And he dropped his bags, and he's like, Josh, if you wanted to get into commercial real estate, I would hire you tomorrow. But it's not that easy. You got to go take these classes. You got to pass this test. And most importantly, you have to understand that you don't get a salary. You have to hustle in this business. And if you're going to do it, you have to be prepared that 2 or 3 years may go by without you making $1. But if you're willing to work, I will teach you. And I thought about it for a while. We met several times, and I decided to do it. And that was 14 years ago, and I've been working with him ever since.
Wow.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. You know, I feel like for those of you listening, watching, you probably know who this is. I mean, his name is everywhere in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, which is awesome. But I mean, kind of to piggyback off what you said, why real estate? Why that career path?
So to be completely transparent, I could have seen myself going into financial planning. I'm not really good with numbers, but a lot of financial planners I know aren't either. They say you just need to be good with people. I would have considered selling insurance. I think sales was always what my skill set lended itself to. I'm extremely ADD. I can't read, not because I can't read English, but because I cannot sit down and focus on a book.
Yes.
I just need to be running around and doing something. And this opportunity it opened itself up. But when I met with him and talked about retail real estate, which is one of several disciplines, as a real estate agent, you could sell houses, residential, you could go do office space, you could do multifamily, you could do industrial. This guy does retail. And to me, the thing about retail, which was attractive, is that everybody understands it to a certain extent. Most people will go out to a restaurant, they go shopping, they know what strip centers are, so it's relevant. And to be able to be on the forefront of that and actually make it exciting and humanize that whole process, which when I got into it, I realized that when you go to your Kroger and you see that there's a new store that just opened up, it's like, great, who cares? But there's so much work that goes behind that. And what I learned from meeting with this guy and learning about the business is that the work that it takes to get that vacancy from a shell to a Payless shoe store or a nail salon or a cool new restaurant, that's what I do. And that piece of it to me is exciting, it's relevant, and it's more importantly, it's relatable. So I really took to that, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So do you work mainly with like the owners themselves that own the property and then they're trying to flip it or they're trying to sell it? Or does your company go in and actually purchase the property and then try to find a buyer for that?
So all the above. In a rare instance, our company might acquire property either outright or as a partner in the project. Real estate can be very, very expensive. There's a lot that goes into it. But more often than not, it's third party. So somebody will own a shopping center or they might buy it and there's a vacancy. They'll call us, or more often than not, I'll know that this thing is for sale. I'll figure out who bought it because it'll be in the business courier, or I'll just catch wind of it and I will go try and intercept it and get in front of them and say, hey, this is your new asset. You have this vacancy. By the way, Big Lots is going to go bankrupt. You're going to have another one. Let me be of value to you. I will solve these problems. I'll list it for you. I'll do this. And that's how we end up getting involved.
Wow.
Wow.
It sounds like a multi-step process.
It's a multi-step process. It's not just finding a bar or restaurant, getting them to sign a lease, and whoop-de-doo, they're open 3 months later. It starts way before that. I need to figure out who owns these properties. I need to figure out what tenants might be on the chopping block, what vacancies may be coming up. There's a lot of study that goes on with it, but again, it's relevant and it's fascinating and it keeps me going because it's everywhere. Whenever I'm driving from A to B and I'm looking, if I see a vacancy or if I see a for sale by owner sign on a commercial piece of property, that gives me something to do.
Yeah. You're pulling U-turns.
Yeah, always. And people are honking at me because I'm going 20 miles an hour to 45. Yeah.
That's so funny.
You're obviously very relatable. I mean, I feel like even like social media wise, you're very good at marketing yourself and being relatable. And so, yeah, you're successful in what you do and people know that, but you're also like doing funny trends. Like I just saw like your little reel that you made, which is so funny. I think that people love them. That's why you have the following you do, is because of things like that. So that's awesome.
When I first got into this business, I recognized that the industry was dominated primarily by middle-aged white guys. And here I was in my late 20s, and I really wanted to sink my teeth into it. I wanted to have fun with it. And all the while, remember, we're working with bars and restaurants. People love that topic, yet nobody is making it entertaining. And then as social media started to really blossom, and there's this Instagram and TikTok and all these other things that are coming up and trends start to develop, I'm left wondering, why is nobody doing this? And I would ask colleagues in the industry, hey, why isn't anybody doing this? And their answer was, well, because we don't do that. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't work for me. That's exactly why I think we should be doing it. And why not do crazy, ridiculous things outside of shopping centers? I mean, the name of the game when you're listing real estate, which is what I do, is to draw attention to it. Commonly, people would just put big, giant 4-foot by 8-foot signs outside of a shopping center with your name and phone number and hope that your phone rings at the end of the day. But for me, I need to draw attention to it. I want to do videos and I want to make posts and I want to get influential people to do things at these places so that people like you two, who you're not in real estate, but you know where some of my listings are because I'm drawing attention to it. And if I get it in front of the brokers, that's great, but they already know about it. That's the easy part. I need to get it in front of the people that own restaurants, the people that eat at restaurants, the people that own bars, the people that are thinking about opening these things up, hair salons, everything. And if I'm not doing that, then as far as I'm concerned, I'm not doing my job right.
You essentially became the face of that, I feel like, around town. You know, when I see
Agreed.
an on-site, I feel like I think of you. And I think it also comes back to the social media that you've been posting on
Yep.
there. So
I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
it's not easy, and I don't do it by myself. I mean, I have any number of different videographers that help me put these things to work. I come up with these random ideas. They help hone them in and make them make sense. I have people that work in my office that help me to do this, people that make the marketing collateral. And then, of course, there's the tenants and the landlords and the people that I physically work with. But I appreciate that. And to me, that's a win because I came into this wanting to shake it up because it needed to be shaken up. And there's still a lot of work to do, but I appreciate the feedback.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So besides all of that, and the accomplishments that you've been able to do and achieve through the social media and the marketing, what are some of the struggles that you have faced with what you do?
So we are, to your point, regarded as, I think, the go-to firm if there's a restaurant space that is needed, for example, and needed either because an up-and-coming chef wants to open up a second, a third, a fourth, or because a landlord has a restaurant space and that restaurant closed. A current struggle is that restaurants are having a really difficult time right now keeping their doors open. There have been 9 straight quarters of increased food costs, of labor issues, of supply chain problems. So all of our local restaurants that we love, that we would prefer to support as opposed to the national chains, they're literally struggling. So I've worked my whole career to be that guy that can take on these restaurant spaces. Now I have a bunch of restaurant spaces, but there aren't as many buyers or tenants that are interested. So it's been a struggle. We're working through it. And as springtime is coming up and patio season is open, a lot of these people are seeing a bit of a windfall, which couldn't come at a better time, but it's still not what it was after COVID finally settled. Another issue is developments. So you will not see as many projects under construction today as there were in years past. Construction costs are insane. Labor costs, same labor issue. They're insane. Materials and the whole domino effect of the supply chain. It happens and has the ripple effects with construction as well. And in real estate, so I get paid, I get a commission based on the value of a deal, whether it's a lease or a sale. Well, a new project that's fresh and clean is going to yield a higher price than an older one. And I've worked my entire career to try and get those new, hot, those sexy projects. But now they're not happening as much, and B, they're a lot harder to lease because they're more expensive. It's more expensive to build. It's more expensive for the tenant or the buyer. And a lot of these things, they're just kind of sitting there for now. So it's a bit of a challenge. And look, if it was easy, it wouldn't be called work. So we have to deal with challenges. You have challenges in your job. I do mine. But it just, there are some headwinds that hopefully with whatever happens with the economy and these tariffs and whatever else is coming up, that it all just settles and we'll be able to figure out how things are going to stabilize and move forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's what this show is all about, is kind of listening to struggles and the process of getting to where you are, because a big thing that we always talk about is it just doesn't happen. Like sometimes, like you have to try, right? Like I think with today's society and with social media, we talk about this all the time. Like people want things now. And you're not going to get it right now. Like you mentioned a couple minutes ago how you said, you know, there could be a couple years if you're just starting out, you might not make anything. And I think that's great that you're showing, hey, like there is struggles, but you got to go through this to be like, look where I am today kind of thing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so the one thing that this job has taught me more than anything is patience. And you're right. People want something now. I've missed 3 calls since we've been sitting here from agents that probably want to go see a listing I have this afternoon. It's not going to work. But these people, everybody, by human nature, we kind of expect and want things now. When I first started, that 2 to 3 year time period, I had to build a pipeline. So I didn't have any buildings with any signs on them. I had nothing. And I had to make a name for myself. I had to start with whoever would give me a space to lease, convincing them that I will work harder than anybody else, to go find somebody to lease it. And I have no income at this time. So I had to live off of the savings that I had from the job before. And I had a part-time job that kept things going. I rented an apartment. I had to live very thrifty. But it taught me a lot about patience and certainly living within my means and how to understand the other side of the coin so that I have patience with other people as well. Because whatever your job is, if you don't have patience and you don't know what it's like to come from the bottom, then I think that you're going to have a much harder time having the right attitude to sustain what it takes to be successful, period.
Yeah. And appreciating what you accomplished throughout
And
the years.
appreciate it.
So you were talking about your struggles prior to COVID or a little after COVID. I'm sure COVID was a huge smack in the face with the commercial real estate and stuff like that. But if that gives you any kind of foresight of like what you're able to accomplish after the fact, I mean, I don't think we're going back that way. So whatever the economy might do, I think at least in your mind, you'll have that motivation to be like, okay, we're going to overcome this because it's not as bad as what it could have been or what it was before.
Yeah, so COVID was interesting. COVID sucked for everybody. We know that. Now, the interesting thing is that during COVID, restaurants slammed, all right? Slammed their doors shut. Left and right, every week. Those that were barely hanging on, we knew it was only a matter of time before they closed. So the restaurants that survived, they learned how to pivot. I remember Fusion, which sells sushi, started selling toilet paper. Because remember, there was a toilet paper shortage. So they're like, if you order your sushi roll, they figured out delivery, they got app, they got their game right. But then they started adding toilet paper. But it made noise. It got people's attention. They did fine, okay? But the restaurants
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean,
That
I
is
still remember. I was like,
insane.
well, this is interesting. It's like you go on their app, you can get a tuna roll, salmon roll, toilet paper roll. It was real talk because it was hard to do that. And remember, nobody wanted to go into a grocery store because you're touching the cart, you're touching the stuff, you're surrounded by people. People just wanted to stay at home. So those restaurants that did not learn how to pivot, a lot of them unfortunately closed. We know that. So that left a lot of vacant space. Well, landlords still needed to fill that space, or owners were in a position where they needed to sell. So a lot of my friends, they loved COVID. They're like, yeah, I don't have to go to work for the next couple months, and we don't have to do anything. I got a Zoom at 3, but other than that, I'm just going to play around and do some work on the house. I worked harder than I ever had because these landlords don't work 9 to 5. This is their life is their career. So they're calling me left and right because another one closed. So I literally put on a helmet and I went to work during COVID. I had more listings dump on me at once, but I said to myself, if I can figure this out, then when COVID is over, if I do this right, I will be the go-to listing guy. Like, why? First of all, I have ADD, so I have a hard time sitting still. So during COVID, I needed something to do. And unfortunately for all these businesses that had to shutter, RIP to all these nail salons and hair salons and stores and service-oriented retailers and restaurants, of course. But I still had a solution to these landlords' problems to fill these spaces, whether they became ghost kitchens. So the restaurants have figured out how to perfect the catering, like Boca. So David Falk, Boca is this beautiful restaurant. You pay for the experience and the amazing food, but he figured out how to do Domo, which was their delivery arm. I don't recall what it stands for, but there are little cars that still to this day zoom around Cincinnati. If you guys wanted to buy Boca for dinner, they have this perfectly little packaged product that can get sent to your house by going online and pressing a few buttons. Ruby's did the same thing. A lot of restaurants did, but ghost kitchens were a thing so that they could rent these other spaces for cheap outside of their restaurant, basically create commissaries. And then other restaurants that had several locations, like the 4EGs, the Thunderdomes, all those brands that we love that did fine, they were basically on a buying spree because they knew that when COVID was over, these locations were going to be in play again, but now they can snag them on the cheap. So fortunately for me, and I hate to say it because it's at the expense of these businesses that failed, but it really allowed me a platform to go. And I like to think that I did as much as I could with that crappy time in our recent history.
That's crazy. I would have never have guessed that. I mean, everything that you just explained, when you pull back the layers, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I feel like it definitely smacked all industries in the face. And whether or not you were able to, I wouldn't say reap the benefits, but at the end of the day, if you were able to see
the problems at hand and pivot, like you said, to come out on the other end.
So I have a fun question. I actually have two fun questions. So say someone came to you, right? And they want to go down the same path that you are at now. And actually, I think my boyfriend picked your brain a little bit about some stuff. My fiance.
You mean your
Now your fiance. I was just
My
going to say, now your fiance.
My fiance did. And you give the best advice. Tell me, what are the first three things you would tell them to do?
So a lot of people do reach out to me, whether it's through a personal connection or they send me a DM on Instagram or whatever the case may be, and they say, I want to get into real estate. Well, real estate has multiple disciplines. I'm happy to talk to somebody about residential. I know a little bit about it, but if somebody wants to get into commercial real estate, my advice typically starts with figure out what sector you want to be in. Multifamily, industrial, retail, office space, etc. Figure that out. We can talk about it. To me, quite honestly, the guy that I met at the golf outing, my broker, if he did industrial, I probably would have followed him through industrial and talked about reasons that it made sense to me. So to a certain extent, I don't think it matters. Office space is a tricky one. I don't think that's the hottest discipline at the moment, but figure out which one you want to be in, because that will then dictate who I might be able to put you in touch with. I would also ask somebody what their lifestyle is like, because if you have certain responsibilities that require stabilized income and knowing where your next paycheck is coming from, unless you have something else to lean on, at least commercial real estate that I do may not be the right path. And in addition to lifestyle, you got to know what your personality is like, because this is not a 9-to-5 kind of job. And people that take it and fail, I think it's because they either feel like it's going to be a cakewalk and things are just going to come to them and things are going to magically happen. And before you know it, you lease or sell something. Like I said, 2 to 3 years, you got to be patient with that. And you have to, in a way, sort of have that hustle mentality. But that's brokerage. You can get into commercial real estate and never do brokerage. You can be an analyst. You can research things. You can be a graphic designer and put together maps and brochures. And like I said, I have a team of people and everybody plays their part. And without one of them, we don't function the way that we do. But at least as it relates to brokerage, if anybody wanted to get into brokerage, those are 3 important things that I would definitely want them to ask of themselves. And then I'm happy still to talk to anybody if they actually feel like this is a path that they want to pursue, because I had to do the same thing. It's not like you can go to college to study how to become a commercial real estate broker. You have to really have somebody hold your hand, and mentorship is critical.
That's okay. So I kind of want to talk about that for a second, only from like personal experience. My fiance, he just graduated from UC, and now they have like a brand new like real estate program, and he's talking to me right now, and he's like, yeah, of course I learned like from school about this stuff. He goes, but man, I just want to learn things that people can't really teach you, like you said. Like I want like someone to guide me and show me these things that the university didn't tell me, like show me, kind of thing. So it's like you can know everything about it, but until you actually do it or go that distance. And I hope I'm making sense. Am I making any sense?
No, you are. Look, there's not a lot of opportunity to glean what it's like to be a commercial real estate agent. University of Cincinnati has the real estate program. It's amazing. I'm actually on the board they call it the Bear Board, and we interact with students all the time, and they have an amazing curriculum for teaching these students about the financial aspect of it and all these different disciplines. But brokerage is that one thing. It's like swimming. You can learn how to swim in one of 2 ways. You can study it and read about it and watch it, or you can just get thrown into the water.
Yeah.
And typically, once you're thrown into the water, you're going to be the best version of a swimmer that you could ever be, because you're going to figure it out on your own. One of the reasons I do all these things on Instagram and I'm so exposed about what I do all day is because I had the same problem. I wanted to understand what it was like from a secure standpoint without basically rolling the dice and investing that 2 to 3 years of my life, because I needed to know. You want to make an educated decision, and nothing was out there. But the best way to do it, unfortunately or fortunately, is to find somebody that will hold your hand and walk you through it, like Eric Abrams did for me, like we are doing with 2 other recent graduates, one from Ohio State, one from UC. And these 2 girls, Haley and Danny, they have the wherewithal, whether it's because they keep a part-time job or whatever the case may be, to dive in and invest this time into shadowing everybody. Our office is small, there's 12 of us, but they shadow all of us and they work with us and we participate with them on deals and transactions, because that is, not only is it the best way to learn, but it's the only way to learn.
I respect that a lot because I feel like a lot of people, default to going to college. Not that going to college is a bad thing by any means, but I definitely feel like more mentors mean a lot more when you get the hands-on approach. And it could essentially set you and propel you years in advance when you're with the right person, right? And then also you get to surround yourself with the like-minded people that, hey, one day I could be like you, right? Tell me the do's and the don'ts, or tell me where you went maybe wrong or off the beaten path and you came back. And again, that kind of goes hand in hand with what the podcast is all about. It's just interviewing people like yourself that go through the struggles and the achievements of getting where they are today. So I appreciate that.
And I'll be honest with you, I went through 4 years of college. I started college thinking that I was going to go to law school until it came time my junior year to actually start studying for the LSATs. And I'm like, it's Thursday night. I'm not trying to open this book right now. And then that Thursday night turned into the next week and the next week. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I graduate college with a degree in sociology, which is great, but what do you do with that? And I ended up taking some sales jobs. So yes, college is important. I don't want to minimize that either. But once I started working with this guy, I'm like, I think this is my calling. I finally found somebody to give you that opportunity. And to be honest, I feel like there's this indebted responsibility on my behalf to pay it forward, to do the same for others, that he didn't have to do this for me. And yes, we work together and they make money off of the deals that I do and vice versa. It's a win-win situation, but I think that it is one of the greatest gifts that you could give anybody, to teach them, and especially to mentor them so that they can take all of your strengths and then find their own and become the best version of themselves.
See, that's what I was trying to explain earlier, but words are hard. Words are hard.
You're coming off a killer weekend. You're hanging in there.
Sometimes it's just hard to get out. Okay, guys?
So to change the subject a little bit, I do want to ask you, so in your element would be real estate, commercial real estate. What is something that would be out of your element if you had to pick something?
All right. So I kind of look, politics are important. I stay out of it. People always inevitably will find themselves getting into political discussions, and the people that love getting into those discussions somehow find a beautiful way to always interject that discussion in irrelevant discussions. I just, that's not my element. Because I feel like you never win, and you're always going to cause an uproar, and it's such a polarizing, confrontational platform to speak on. So I just I step out of it. Yes, of course I have my own opinions, but that is definitely not my element.
Yeah.
Well said on that. And
Wow,
I think
well
those
said.
Thanksgiving dinners can definitely take a turn once politics are involved.
Holiday dinners, right? Yep.
You're
It's
like,
magically Trump is at the table again.
Yeah.
Here we are once more.
Yeah.
So I've learned, the salesman in me, I've learned how to change the subject.
oh, nice.
It's no, we don't need to talk about Trump Biden or Trump Harris. Let's talk about this other topic and just get everybody off topic.
Let's talk about the
Right.
turkey.
Let's
That's
talk.
right.
Let's,
Was it delicious this year? It was
Right.
so moist. Aunt Abby.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, guys, look at this amazing weather. Isn't it so pretty outside?
Yes.
And they're all arguing at the table.
That's so funny.
Okay, last one. A day in the life. Give me
yes.
a day in the life. What does your day look like? Monday through Friday. Well, you work all the time. Okay, so waking up in the morning, what does it look like?
Okay, so I don't set an alarm in the morning, and to me, the weekends.
You don't set an alarm.
I don't know. I
You
don't.
just
I don't
naturally
have to.
wake up?
I drink a lot of water every day. Okay, so I
Okay.
learned a long time ago, the more you hydrate, the better off you are. It's good for your skin. It's good for your body. So the converse of that is, I wake up in the middle of the night to pee, but I have trained my body because I'm so wiped by the time I go to bed. So we'll start at the beginning. No matter what day it is, I wake up anywhere between 4 to 5:30 a.m. to pee because my bladder's throbbing. But as soon as I get up, my eyes open, I walk to the bathroom, my mind starts racing. It's the ADD, it's whatever else is going on inside my head. So I basically forced myself many years ago, as opposed to going back to bed and just rolling around because I can't shut my brain off, just get up. So because I'm so tired at night, I usually am asleep by 10. So to me, 6 hours is plenty. And if I get 7 or 7.5, that's gravy. Any more than that, I find myself exhausted. So if I'm up at 4 or 5, whatever the case may be, I go down to my kitchen, I turn on my computer, I brew a pot of coffee, I start working. There's always things that I could be doing, emails, responses, running reports, looking for properties, whatever. I do that until straight until about 8 or 8:30 when my phone starts ringing. But let me tell you how peaceful it is between those hours of up until 8 a.m. before cars start going, before noise starts happening. I get so much work done. I can do it at my own pace. It's great. Okay, the trade-off is you're exhausted at night, but we'll get to that. So come 8 o'clock or 8:30, my phone will start ringing because people are calling me because they see my sign, they've got questions. My emails start coming back to me, so I'm in work mode. I dedicate an hour to an hour and a half every day of exercise, which I generally do between 9:30 to somewhere around 11:30. I go to a gym. There's usually an aerobics class, so I'm oftentimes the only guy in these aerobics classes working out with these older women. But let me tell you something, those classes, they are no joke.
I've heard they are no joke. I've heard that.
I'm drenched in sweat, and all these other bros at the gym are out there in front of the mirror doing bicep curls and bench presses. I don't know what they think when they look at me, but they probably think, who is this dude? And I don't really care. To me, what's important is not that I can flex on anybody, but that my heart is in good shape.
Yeah.
And I'm in good shape because I have a 5-year-old girl that I have to chase around every day. So I work out, I go back home, I shower, then I'm out for the day. I usually have a lunch meeting with somebody. I'll then have showings lined up to go to all these different properties. And one of the keys to my success is I map it all out beforehand. So I know where I'm going on Thursday of that week by Sunday. And I know exactly in what order I'm going so that I am maximizing basically a circle and not backtracking through Cincinnati. My daughter's in school until 2:30 every day. If I can, I try and make that time between 2:30 and when she goes to bed to spend the afternoon with her, because her mom lives in one neighborhood, I live in Pleasant Ridge. The way I see it, if I can spend that time with her while she's awake and active, I would rather have that than have her while she's asleep. That's no fun. So I then spend the rest of my day generally with her doing something fun. If it's nice outside, we're at a park, we're at Oakley Greens, we're at Summit Park, we're doing something fun. And she's around other kids because she's a COVID baby after all. So the more that I can socialize her, the better. She's definitely well adapted. She's a kind, sweet little girl.
She is so cute. She's always, when she's here, she's always running around. She's the
Always.
cutest. She's so cute.
She loves dancing when you have the live
Oh,
music.
yeah.
She's like, Daddy, dance with me. And there's only a certain amount of time before that stops. So I'm trying to take advantage of it. She starts kindergarten in August. So when she either goes to bed or she goes back to her mom, then I go back to my computer and I will respond to all the emails, or there's a nighttime networking event, whether it's a social hour or some sort of speaker or whatever the case may be. And then before you know it, it's 9 o'clock. I'm making my way back home. I get everything winded down. I get ready for bed. I'm in bed at 10. And then we wake up, we do it all over again.
Wow.
That's a day in the life.
So I guess key to your career is organization. It seems like you're very organized.
I'm very routined. I like to think that I'm very prepared. And I eliminate stress by clearing out all the stuff that can build up in a day. I give myself a 24-hour rule. I will respond to everything within 24 hours. So if something's building up while I'm playing at the park with her at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, I know that it's going to get responded to before 8 o'clock the next morning. So it eliminates that stress.
Yeah.
So I can be totally present with her. And when I'm at work and doing work things, I can be totally present at work. And that to me is key in just keeping a clear head and making sure that there isn't too much building up on my shoulders.
What a great rule. That is a great rule, I feel like. The 24-hour rule, especially when you have a youngster at home, because I feel like making memories with those kids while they're young is everything. I have a 5-year-old and a 16-year-old, soon to be 16-year-old, and there's just the time between there just flies by.
That's what everybody told me when I found out that I was having a child. Everybody gives you unsolicited advice. I listened to all of it. What I actually took is one thing, but I heard everybody. But the one thing that rang true is that just like that, it's gone. And the girls especially, they won't want to talk to you after a certain age. So I'm trying. I can't slow time, but I can try and make the most of what it is, as you know.
Yes.
With your two. So I'm doing everything. I like to think I'm doing what I can.
No, and you're doing great. For just being able to establish those rules and be like, nope, 24 hours, I'm going to be in the present. Staying in the present, I think, is hard for everybody to do. but especially when you have a little kid, just being in the moment at the time, because my 5-year-old remembers stuff like 2 years ago for some reason.
Isn't it
He'll bring
crazy?
it up. It's crazy. Like, you remember the time we passed that building? I said, "What? I do, but I'm surprised you do." Like, so it's
I think
just
the
crazy.
same things. I don't know how their little brains work. It's
That's
insane.
crazy.
Well, thanks again for coming out. I greatly appreciate it.
Of course.
This has been In Your Element podcast. I'm Randall Pink.
I'm Natalie Kaufman.
And I'm Josh Rothstein.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Josh.
you guys.
Back up in my yellow. I get my grind on and my mind strong, I'm working. I clock in when the night's long, so much time gone, but it's worth it. I'm locked in, keep the lights on, got my mind on my purpose. It's working, I flourish, I earned it. Can't tell me I don't deserve it.